Page 24, Down by the Bay. At the top of the page, they're talking about the 1 and the 5/7 chords. Those letters, the I and the V, those are Roman numerals. We have a lot of numbers in music and music notation, and so we have to figure out ways to tell one number from another. So when they're talking about chord numbers, yes, chords are numbered. They use Roman numerals. Now let's talk about that. What's a 1 chord? What's a 5/7 chord? Oh, you're going to love it. Just briefly, I don't want to get into it too deep. You're really not complicated. It makes sense. Just watch out. Going back to the key of C major. Remember, I already told you all the notes were steps, and they're numbered, step numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the 1 chord is the note the chord that's built on step 1 of a scale. The tonic, that's the 1 chord. It's also called the tonic chord because it's built on the tonic step. And that's in the C major, that's a C chord. Just every other note, 1, 3, and 5, the steps, 1, 3, and 5 the scale. Doesn't have to be in that arrangement. We can put the C up here, we can put the E up here, doesn't matter. You don't even have to use all the notes. You can just use 2 notes if I want. Usually use 3 notes. That's the 1 chord. So whatever key you're in, it's the tonic chord, there's the 1 chord. Hopefully you can just, okay. The 5/7, we'll first do the 5 and we'll add the 7th. The 5 is built on the 5th step of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, remember that's the dominant. Well, again, this is called the dominant chord because the name of the step is also the name of the chord. Makes sense. So here it would be this. It's every other note built on the dominant step. So it's a G chord actually. But they want the 7. You see the little 7th? Well, what we do is we simply add a 4th note. Now we got 4 notes. And the reason is because this note is as an interval of a 7th above the bottom of the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's why it's a dominant 7th or a 5/7. A 5 chord with a 7th added. 5 chord with a 7th added. A 5/7 chord. You don't have to use all the notes. And we generally don't. We use either these notes or these notes. You'll pretty much always use these notes, the outside notes, on these. But the middle note, you use either one or all of them. And it doesn't have to be in this arrangement. I can rearrange it. Let's go down here. I take the G and put it on top. I take the B and put it on top. I take the D and put it on top. Whatever. It's the same chord. It's just a different arrangement, a different inversion of the chord. That's all. It's fine. Well, in the music, they're showing you the typical things of it. They have the 1 chord. And then there's the 5/7 chord. They're using this arrangement of it. The full chord is this. They just put the G on, remember it's this? I just put the G on top. And then if I leave that out, I've got that. That's what they're using. It's still a 5/7 chord. And that's it. It's just convenient. We want to be able to play the different chords without moving our hands all over. Because if I play them together, it's 1 chord, and then the 5/7 chord is up here, and then the 1 chord. I'm moving a lot. I don't want to do that. So I can do here to here. I get them, I'm not moving at all. The little finger moves. Then they talk about the leading tone. Remember I said leading tone because it leads up to, it's the name of the step, is a leading tone. And so the chord, you think, is that a leading tone chord? Well, not really. This is one of those exceptions. You got to have exceptions in music, or it would be boring, don't you know? It's true. But so leading tone leads into here. So usually a 5/7 chord will lead into the tonic. This chord leads into, or is followed by this chord. Usually it does that. It just, you want to hear it. You can expect to see that a lot. You just watch out for it. It's there. So much for theory. Let's talk about Down by the Bay. 4/4 time. Going to take this one hand at a time at the beginning. starting with the thumb on G, and you'll notice it's just 2 beats in the measure. And once again, they have an error in the music, because if I have a 2-beat measure pickup, I expect to see another measure somewhere else with just 2 beats in it. So it all comes out correctly, and there isn't. They put 4 beats at the end. Again, I believe that's an error. The Faber does this a lot. So we have a G and an A and a G, and they're all half notes here, and then you get the 8th notes, and these are just straight 8th notes. 1 and 2 and here, and this that's really about all it is. Okay, you go up to the top of page 25, last measure. You're here, B flat. That puts your thumb here. That you in a way you've changed positions, but we don't want to. We want to stay here. So I'm just going to keep my hand here, and I'm just using the thumb temporarily, because the next note is a C with 4th finger. And if I change position, I'm out of position. I'm going to stay here. So I'm kind of reading ahead to see where my hand needs to be now. Does that make sense? Well, you'll learn to read ahead when you read music. You'll see what's coming before you get there. Just a little ways. So it's 1, this is the second line, second measure. 1 and 2 and then the next line you got to come down. You get 2 beats of rest. And then D sharps, 1 and 2. Remember, the sharp is good for the whole measure. Well, the rest of the measure, you know what I mean, hopefully. And then the last line, 1, 2, 3. And then jump. Doesn't say how high, just jump. Don't jump. Terrible idea. Just move the hand up. Don't jump up. Just move the hand up. Left hand, you have the chords. You got the tonic or the 1 chord or the C chord. Just lower the whole hand down. Try and get all the notes down at the same time. Not very good at that, but you can do it. And then the next line you get the 5-7 chord, or the dominant 7th chord. Here? That's all this is. So you see these chords, these groups of notes, and you'll recognize them as one thing, and you're not trying to read all these notes. You just, oh, that's a C chord, okay. And you just read it as such. It's much easier. So you learn to group things together. Eventually. Let's try both hands here at the beginning. Go pick up beat. We're coming in on beat 3. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Remember, play come up on beat 1 there, it's a rest. Let's go over to page 25, 3rd line down. You're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. They changed notes there. So forth. And we can add the articulation and stuff. At the beginning we got the fermatas. So you can hang on to these a little longer. How long? When I play with a metronome, I have to stay with a metronome, so I just double the value. So I'm going to hold each of these 4 counts, and then when 4 counts is over for each note, and then we go. And it's staccato on the left hand. 1. Just flex the wrist. When you do this, put the hand on the keys first, and then you push down and bounce off. But each time, put the hand on the keys first. Don't come above and try and hit down on it. If you can, So forth. We get over. That's really about it for the articulation. Let's go over to the bottom of page 25. You have staccatos. Or in the second ending, because you got first and second endings. The second ending, it's staccato. Now it's a staccato with an accent. Give it a little extra oomph. We're done. Then, dynamic-wise, well, on pieces like this, the dynamics are suggest do what you want, pretty much. Don't get carried away. It's on the loud side. It's a happy song. And this is the melody. They give you a peef there in this where the chords are, they don't need the P. That's automatic. You just play them under. We want to hear the melody. This is moderately loud. Everything else has to be down. So forth, and you're staying in that level. You don't stay exactly that level. You can get a little louder and softer, but you have to get to know the music well enough to feel it. So you feel the dynamics. Speed-wise, it's a happy piece. It's a bright piece, but it has to be accurate. So how fast it goes? Well, how fast can you play these eighth notes accurately? And then 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. I tend to play them a little bit staccato. Well, they're repeated notes, you got to anyway, so why not? So forth. However accurate you can play it, that's how fast you can go. So these fermatas, you just hang on to them, and then here. So forth. I didn't mean to play it for you because I don't want you copying me. I want you to discover what it sounds like on your own by, oh, this is kind of fun. I like this. I'd like to play with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. And as I said before, I'm going to do the fermata notes. I'm going to hold them 4 counts instead of 2, and we will do the repeat, the first and second endings. So I'll give us 2 counts because we come in on beat 3, technically. Ready? Go. 3, 4, hold 2, 1, 2, hold 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 1. Repeat. And 3 and 4 and second ending, rest, rest.